Hello, and welcome to the February 29th, 2020 edition of Rant-Om Thoughts. It is a Saturday night, and I thought I would do this episode here on the 29th, because there won't be another February 29th for another 4 years or so. The other night, before I was to start work, I went to pick up a protein bar, a bottled water, and an energy drink. Thought I'd put a little plug in there for that, so I could have something to, something to munch on during my lunch break. Also, the water was needed so I can keep myself hydrated throughout my shift. It's a little stay awake trick when you're working graveyard shift. And so I was walking to my work site. I heard somebody shouting, "What? What? What are you looking at? Where are you from?" Okay, directly in front of me, that's my 12 o'clock. Directly behind me, that is my 6 o'clock. This guy was somewhere to my 8 or 9, and he was across the street. Well, I did not want this guy in my blind sight if he was going to, shout insults at me and make threats to me. So I slowed up so he wouldn't be so much in my blind side. Then I turned and looked in his direction. Again, "What are you looking at?" And shouting insults and obscenities at me that I don't want to repeat. Then he starts to cross the street and starts to approach me. Well, as soon as he got close enough, yeah, saw the sparks, stopped dead in his tracks, ran back to his mom/sister's trailer park, double wide. I am not a doormat. I'm I don't let people walk all over me. I don't let people push me around. I don't play around with people. Tuesday is we're having an election. It's the California primary election. Posted my ballot pics on my Facebook page. I'll link it below if you're curious about that. The way I go about it is I don't tell people how to vote. I tell them how I plan on voting. I also leave it open, to discussion. give people an opportunity to try to change my mind, or maybe they'll tell me how they're going to vote and why they're going to vote that way. But in short, Jacob Hornberger for president, none of the above for Congress. Guadalupe Salazar, I'll be writing her in for state assembly. I live in the 21st district now. For Superior Court, Jeff Mangar, John Main, Samuel Getrich, and no on Proposition 13. And I hope I do get into a good discussion about that on my Facebook page, or even here. One thing that really, really, really annoys me is when people break off friendships or cut off family ties because of political differences. Can't we just see each other as people first? Yeah. A few years ago, one of my schoolmates, he was class of 98. I was class of 96. Right. This was a guy who I thought was a good friend. But a few years ago, we had this disagreement over the DAPL, the Dakota Access Pipeline. And he had to get unnecessarily nasty with me about it because of my belief that the pipeline would bring America closer to energy independence, that it would have created jobs for that part of the country. And my belief also that the opposition to the pipeline was being bankrolled and egged on by foreign entities, which turned out to be the case later on down the road. That yes, the Standing Rock protests were indeed bankrolled by Gazprom, the Russian state-owned petroleum company. But he decided to take his disagreement with me so far as to say that I shouldn't be allowed to reproduce. And that I was borderline psychotic. And then he unfriended me. Then a few years later, I told I made a joke on a mutual friend's post. You see, this friend of mine, he likes to post these factoid memes, and one of them told the story about a Union general who, during the Civil War, who was cut down by rebel sniper fire after making a disparaging remark about their marksmanship. And I said, well, that's what happens when you mess with Dixie. few days later, I post a meme on my I share a meme on my timeline. It featuring the character, the SpongeBob SquarePants character Patrick, a rather dense starfish, having it explained to him that the quote-unquote free stuff offered by certain politicians, I won't name names, Bernie Sanders, aren't really free, and that they do cost. And this happens. Now I'm going to read this uncensored. So if you have young ears in the room, please usher them out. Have them do something else so you can listen to this later. And here it is. Oh, and forgive the funny voice that I'm about to make, because when I read stuff like this, it's how it sounds in my head.
About 46% of all tax filers, individuals or households, pay no federal income taxes each year. Because of various exclusions, high-income tax filers make up a tiny portion of that number. They are by far the biggest beneficiaries. More than half of the tax revenues lost to the most common tax exclusions stays in the pockets of the richest 1/5 Americans, according to the analysis of the Congressional Budget Office. Part of which are citizens living in the spectrum of the poverty conditions. Also a reflection of this ignorant post. Obviously, yeah. Is it free? No cost. Education costs taxpayers. Medical for all costs taxpayers. That national states be very. How? I no longer have to pay private health care, which costs more than my personal possible tax increases. Also, uneducated people grow in middle class, which in turn takes the brunt of tax increases, but in turn is able to live more comfortably. Keep listening to propaganda. I actually looked it up.
To which I reply, whatever, Patrick. Then,
you're a joke, Charles. You and your don't mess with Dixie BS. Bring that shit here.
My response, put the phone down and sober up.
I'm not slurring, Mr. Rude. I've been tired of your BS and fake news for way too long.
Yet you come back after unfriending me 2 years ago?
I'm blocking you now. I thought I already had been saw your ignorant comment on someone else's timeline. I hope for some enlightenment, but for you, but I doubt it. See ya!
And Stupid just left the room. Yeah. See, I don't cut people off for disagreeing with me, or having a difference of opinion, but it has to be said that people who do that, who do stuff like this, they're just weak minded children. They're intellectually stunted, you know. I mean, I have friends from, all across the spectrum, you know, libertarians, liberals, conservatives, you know, monarchists, even monarchists, anarchists, really. And I have my disagreements with them, but I don't, I don't cut them off. I don't, you know, try to belittle their intelligence or, or cuss them out. I mean, really. Oh, and the background noise you made, yes, that's my cat, um, relieving himself, and I just don't have the time to go back and do the whole thing all over again. So, it's not like I'm on some sound stage or anything like that. This is it. This is my house, my little shack in the wonderful upscale neighborhood that is Modesto's Airport District. Well, I think I'll close this with a product review. This is the sparkling cherry lime Arizona drink. It's called the cherry juice Ricky. Um, it reminds me of these fancy Italian sodas that they would sell at Big Lots when I worked there. So it's a very refreshing treat, especially during the summer months, and it's something that I enjoy. Yeah, very refreshing stuff. Well, I'm going to sign off now. Think while it's still legal. I'm going to go see what has my cat so excited over there. He's already killed 2 mice. Till next time.